everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of our podcast. Today, we're thrilled to host Gary Renard and Cindy Lora-Renard, whose insights into spirituality and healing promise to enlighten and inspire us. Gary is an acclaimed author of The Disappearance of the Universe, among other books, and he's been prefigured as a central voice in spiritual literature for our century. If you haven't yet read his books, I strongly encourage that you dip into them. Cindy, not only a best-selling author with works like Spiritual Coupling and The Business of Forgiveness, she's also a spiritual counselor and musician for many years, and she brings a transformative perspective on wellness and spiritual health. Together, Gary and Cindy have traveled globally, sharing the teachings of A Course in Miracles, emphasizing the mind's critical role in health and healing. Their insights challenge us to consider how our intentions, faith, and the discipline of our thoughts can fundamentally shape our experiences of peace, health, and well-being, regardless of our physical conditions. In today's conversation, we delve into the freedom from judgment, the impact of seeing beyond the physical to connect with the spirit within ourselves and others, and the transformative power of forgiveness. We explore the concept that our happiness need not be roped to external circumstances, allowing us to engage with each other on a purely spiritual level. This perspective not only liberates us from perceived limitations, but also enriches our relationships and the way we view our bodies and health. Joining us for a third time is my husband, Dr. Rob Rutledge, a practicing oncologist and associate professor of medicine in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and a man who speaks from the heart, who has spent his entire professional life empowering people with practical ways to lead better, healthier lives. Getting together for a second time with Cindy and Gary for a podcast sparkled enlightened discussions on adopting an attitude of true health and healing. These conversations revolve around maintaining a spiritual vision of our true nature and the unshakable truth of our existence. I am excited to present this episode filled with deep insights into choosing to go beyond physical and mental boundaries in order to embrace the immortality of our spirit and the essence of true healing. Welcome, everyone. Oh, Cindy and Gary, such a pleasure to have you back again for a second podcast. It's going to be fantastic.
Thank you for having us back.
Now, we're excited, really excited.
I heard that we're being recorded, which means that anything we say can and will be used against us.
Absolutely. Try to behave tonight.
I'll try.
I've seen us in the past couple of years, and I think I speak for all four of us, that we're becoming so transparent and really making a choice to shed light onto processes that happen within us as life meets us, wherever it meets us. Let's talk a little bit about that. What role do you think personal experience has in real teaching as we interact with people? And be it anybody, be it somebody at the grocery store, or a kid that we bump into in an elevator, or a colleague, or being in a position where you are actually teaching.
I like to be playful with people. So, if they'll say something to me like, you seem like a very happy, very peaceful person. What's your secret? Sometimes they'll say, and I'll say something like, "Oh, sorry, I can't tell you that." and they'll get curious. So it's like, yeah, but really, I'll say, well, you wouldn't be interested. You're probably not ready for that. Especially, if you want to get young people interested, tell them they're not ready. Then they'll definitely be interested. But I'm kind of playful about it because I know that once I really start talking about what I believe in, it is so radical that there's at least a 50% chance that I'll never talk to that person again for the rest of my life. So I must, be free. I have a very good friend, and he's really into the Course. And he does it faithfully. But he said to me one day, he said, "Where's the joy? Where's the joy? I don't feel the joy." And I said, "Well, maybe you're not thinking of the freedom that this affords you." because there is joy in freedom. That's where the joy is. Imagine being free of this world. Imagine being free of what people think about you. Imagine not having to, deliver, so to speak, as far as, being productive the way that people think that you're supposed to be. And what if it really doesn't matter? And that's where the joy is. The joy is in being free of this world. And that's the kind of freedom that only real spirituality can give you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of like my premise to people, that just like the Course says, there is a way of living in this world that is not of this world. But you can still walk the world the same way that others do. And you can still interact, but they may suspect when they meet you and talk to you, hey, okay, there's something different about this person. And they may not be able to put their finger on it, but it's okay. And this comes to all kinds of things. It includes health, which is your specialty. And, I tell people this kind of spirituality can filter into all the different areas of your life. It can inspire your work, your relationships, how you treat your body, and just all kinds of things. So I just kind of like say, look, I'm happy because I'm free, and I'm free because the kind of spirituality that I'm into, it does not depend on what happens in this world. If your happiness and your joy and your peace of mind are dependent on what happens in this world, you're in trouble.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
This world is nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
So, it's you got to be free of this world. That's the goal.
Good points. Okay. Yeah, I especially lately, I've been experiencing more and more the peace that comes when you spend more time in your inner world. So there's a balance. Most of the time, I think most of us, we're so focused so much on the outer picture, and what's happening out there in the world and even in our own bodies, which is fine, but where's the balance? So lately, I've been experimenting more with finding the quiet center, going within, finding that centered space where the Course says, where you sort of meet God. That's you hear God, the Holy Spirit, in that stillness. You don't hear it in the noise and all the chatter that goes on around you. So when you take more moments for yourself, it could be at least once a day, but 2 or 3 times is even better, to say, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to get quiet, and find that calm, quiet center A Course in Miracles talks about, where the Holy Spirit resides within you, that part where you're connected to that part of your mind. And when you just sit there in that stillness, I've noticed, even in just a few times of doing this, more peaceful, more inspired, because this is also a way to receive true inspiration. If we have questions, it's a way to get answers, even if they come a little bit later. It's a way to experience just a more joyful, high quality of life, because there's a balance there. When you go inward, that's safety. When you go inward, that's sanity. It's the outside picture that's insane, that we projected outside of us. So when you're going inward, the ego is afraid of that, because the ego part of the mind doesn't want you to go inward and find God and know who you really are. So I just know from my experience, especially lately, spending more time in the inner world, wow, is it powerful. And it can bring about so many benefits in all aspects, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I mean, all aspects of your being benefit when you do this. So that's what I think we're encouraged a lot by the unseen forces to meditate. Not that meditation alone undoes the ego, but what it does is, and being still is, it gets you in touch with remembering who you really are and what you really are and what God is. God is perfect, abstract, love, stillness, calm. It's not noisy.
And some joy there too.
And the joy, of course, in meeting in that space. One thing that I found also very helpful is when people attempt to do this, there's going to be mind chatter. It's just going to be thoughts.
Always.
Bag of thoughts.
The chattering mind tries to get in.
Mixed bag of thoughts. Yeah. And what the course says is when that happens, and this is in one of the workbook lessons, imagine each thought that comes in that seems to intrude upon you as just each thought is like a procession going by. You're just seeing okay, you're not trying to get rid of it. You're just noticing, okay, it's a thought, but you're letting it, sort of watching it go by, and then you're staying in your stillness the best you can. And then another thought is going to come by. You're just you're just watching it, but you're not attached to the thoughts. You're just noticing, but yet you can still be in that stillness. And then eventually you will get to the place where even the thoughts disappear and you can be just in that quiet space.
Nice.
That's just what I wanted to contribute to this part, because I've been doing it lately and it's very beneficial, very helpful.
Can I offer an embarrassing story? So,
Good.
So I'm almost 59 years old. I've been an oncologist, radiation oncologist for almost 28 years. And I also just feel like God's like allowing me to mature more and more. And I want to kind of reflect on some of Gary's and obviously Cindy's reflections here, but I'll tell you the experience. So on Wednesday mornings, we have a gathering of about 30, 40 people, and it's a Zoom meeting, and each of the oncologists presents their case. And so what happens is you have like a CAT scan of a brain, and you're showing, this is how I'm encountering this, and this is how the radiation's going in, and I'm worried about the eye dose and that type of thing. Well, on this particular morning, I flailed. It was from an external perspective, it would have been very embarrassing to say that like people had to tell me where to go and which button to press and all that stuff. Now, if I think about it, I might feel embarrassed, but I think I'm with you, Cindy, on that scenario. It's like, I'm not going to buy into the, I'm a loser, or I'm incompetent, or I'm getting too old for this. So even though it could have been like super embarrassing, I wasn't willing to kind of let those thoughts keep on going. In the same way, it's just not helpful to say that. And anyways, it's those type of scenarios.
Yeah, and it also provides safety. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is that every time I do that, and like you say, I take a step back and I go inward, there's safety there. Notice what happens as soon as you step away from the inward condition. The mind starts chattering, thoughts start coming in, and there are judgments. This is good. This is bad. For me to be safe, I need to do A, B, C, D, right? So, and right away you get caught into that web of, I want to be right. And I know that this is going to work, and this is my plan for salvation, and things are going to work out. And bang, you find yourself on your butt, not feeling safe, and getting the exact opposite of what your rational mind told you will provide you safety, will provide you peace, will provide you love. No, you find that you get further and further and further away from it. So the journey is then, the lesson then becomes, if you listen and if you reflect upon, why am I feeling this way? How do I feel when I go inward? How do I feel when I let my mind choose differently? Right. And you realize that after a while, like you said, I mean, I'm 56.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's age but you realize that, why would I do it?
Stop caring about what other people think of you. Like that's, to me, it's such an obvious example. That's virtual. My perception of what people think of me, it's like, it's such an obvious example that is unreal. And sometimes we need those obvious examples to say the world is a projection.
Absolutely. And it's not even real, because when I go inward and I choose the right mind, I notice that actually that has a good benefit on my brother. Like Gary would say, I smile more often, and people say, hey, what's wrong with you? How come you're happy? Yeah. What do you think? And I'm not thinking. Tell me more about that, right?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's good to have actual examples. Like Robert, you were giving an example of how you could use this,
Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah. Because the thoughts will come in and the ego will not want you to dispute it. It will just keep coming and coming and coming, no matter what, it'll just still try to intrude upon your peace. So what do we do then? Or we could be in the middle of a situation, and we're going and chatter, and the ego's raucous shrieks are, just loud. What do we do in that moment? Well, this is part of the mind training, is learning to just catch ourselves when that's happening.
Yes.
Just have that awareness to go,
Yes.
oh, to just go, okay, I see what's happening. Just noticing what's happening would be the first step, because then you can decide, right, to change your mind and start remembering that you are a mind. Not only can you change your mind, but you really are a mind. The body doesn't have to make the decisions for you. That's not always easy, because we feel pain in the body, although it's really taking place in the mind. It's felt as part of the projection in the body. And when that happens, it can be a very difficult process to rework, to kind of reframe, what's happening. So I think it's really helpful to just start off with having the awareness.
Yes.
That you observe yourself, watch yourself, but try to watch yourself as a neutral observer. And so that way you don't fall into judgment on yourself.
Agreed.
If you do feel pain, if you do feel bad, which who doesn't from time to time, going to feel pain or feel bad about something or guilty.
I mean, I can also learn from that experience, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, I can go get some help making sure I understand the software. So it's not like I'm just going to forget about it, but I just wasn't going to buy into it. I wanted to kind of follow up on a couple of thoughts there. So last time round, Gary, you're saying something around, this is a really good course because it trains the mind. And also, Cindy, you're talking right now, it's like you're training yourself to recognize when you feel threatened. It's like, oh, my ego's flaring right now. And so there are kind of some skills there that need practice in some sense. And when I think about that, I think about this idea, like how to teach people, or how do I facilitate that? So the training part, and the reason I'm getting into this mucky story right now is like, but that requires a healthy ego then to say, I'm actually going to practice the lessons of the course, or I'm going to practice meditation, or I'm going to practice trying to watch myself when the ego's flaring. So I wanted to ask that question around training and the fact that it does take some kind of conscious effort, and that may even be ego associated.
Yeah.
Oh, it sure does. It's like, I remember when I was doing the course for just a few years back in the late 1990s. And I realized, once I started to really understand what it was teaching, I realized, I could do this course perfectly if I could just give up the world. That's all I have to do. Just completely give up the world, and I could do this course. But it turns out it's not quite that easy to just give up the world when you appear to be here.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
So that's why the course may say it's simple many, many times, but it never says that it's easy, and it's not easy to do, and it does take discipline. Why, that's why it says this is a course of mind training. And it takes years of discipline. The ego, which is the part of the mind that believes in separation, is relentless.
Yeah.
Those thoughts that come into your mind that Cindy was talking about, watching them go by, that's the ego. And the ego will do anything in its very clever way to distract you and make you think that everything that you're seeing is real and very important and very true, even though you're definitely not going to be worried about it 50 years from now. But it just seems so important. Everybody thinks that everything's important, especially when you're younger. Everything's important. You know, going to the gas
Beautiful.
station is important. You know, so you know, the ego's ingenious, as the Course says, and you have to be wise to it. And so eventually the time will come when that'll happen, and those thoughts will come into your mind, those thoughts of separation and judgment, and you'll notice it, and you say, oh, you know what, that's just my ego.
Right.
You know, it's not important. Not only is what I'm seeing not important, but the ego is not important. It just wants to be, because it wants to have its own identity. It wants to have its own personal existence, but you don't need it, you know, because what you are is so much bigger than
Mhm.
you thought you were. And it's immortal, and it goes on forever. And what you're looking at doesn't. So even though to some people it may sound a little bit heartless, the way the Course puts it is about the teachers of God. They see the dream figures come and go, but they are not deceived by what they see, because now they have an alternate interpretation of that person, and the interpretation of that person that you've been given is so much better and so much bigger and so much more amazing than a single human body could possibly be. And yes, you can still interact with that body in a normal way. It's just that in the back of your mind now, you know who that person really is. You know who they really are.
Yeah.
And to empathize with that is so much better and more real than to just think of that person as being another one of billions of bodies
Mm.
that could be snuffed out at any moment. You know, everyone's giving away their age. Well, I just turned 73. And
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to
and it's
you.
exciting. You know, it's exciting to know that you could die at any moment.
Absolutely.
What a good
Yeah.
attitude. What if that's our
Yeah.
attitude? Oh,
There's the joy.
That's exciting. Wow.
Of course, I'm talking about you know, the body, because
Yeah, the body. Yeah.
nobody ever dies, and we never die, and we couldn't. So I think that, you know, if you can stop identifying with the body, which is not easy,
Yeah.
then your mind will be going in the right direction. If you're listening, or even trying to listen to the Holy Spirit in your mind, then your mind is going in the right direction, and you'll start to get the feeling, you know what, something good is happening. And
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
very, very lucky to be a part of that,
Yes.
instead of just a part of, you know, this world and its mindless history that has gotten the human race basically nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's sorry.
So I just want to just add to Gary's perspective.
Yeah.
Is, I wanted to bring up tonight this idea of end of life, like deathbed visions and so on. And Gary, you're describing exactly right. Some people are fortunate enough to have that transition in the last, whatever, couple weeks of their life. And what happens is they become a lot less identified with their ego, and they're tapping into something that's much bigger and joyous and so on. But you're describing that process, and you're early on now, and it happens more and more and more and more.
Absolutely, because the sooner the more you practice that, the more you practice returning to self and recognizing the fact that you have everything, that you are everything, you are forever, and you're limitless. The more you recognize that, right, the more willing you would be to let go of identifying yourself with the body, jumping into that into that judgment of good and bad, and really stepping into abandoning in reality what you've never had. A world and an identity that never has existed apart from the unity of God. That's really, it's getting the courage or the motivation, rather, because it's a matter of motivation.
Sometimes it's grace
of abandoning that which you've never had, an identity and a life and a world that was never there.
And I also just want to reflect that some people near end of life who have a cancer diagnosis are really suffering a lot, like from a physical perspective. And oftentimes it's like super hard then not to identify with the pain and so on. So it's not like you have to do that or it's expected to happen, but it does reflect a bigger reality that we transcend our ego and we connect with God, I think, is how I see that.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
those situations too, where
Mhm.
where people do experience suffering near the end of their lifetime, that if there's just, could be even just helpful just to even know, even if they're feel suffering, that they're suffering, just to have the awareness that life continues, that this is not all of who they are.
Yeah.
Could even be enough just to go, gosh, in one instant, this will be over.
Yeah.
In other words, and my real self
Yes.
will emerge. You'll continue on in your natural state,
Yes.
where you'll be free. And sometimes even just pondering that,
Mhm.
even if you feel like you're suffering, I know it's not easy, because I've had my own experiences with a lot of fear,
Yes.
a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
a lot of that's no fun. That is no fun. But if a part of your mind, you just allow yourself to go to that part of the mind and allow yourself to make room,
Yeah.
make space
Yes.
for the wait, maybe there is another way,
Yeah.
that I can think about this. And despite if I feel like I'm suffering, remembering the truth that,
Yes.
that
Yes.
this is temporary, this too shall pass. And, that's part of being kind, I think.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not judging yourself for feeling
Yes.
like you're suffering.
Yeah. It's
You're
okay.
just
Yeah.
you're just being saying, look, you're not trying to deny it or push it down. Look, I don't feel good right now.
Yeah.
I feel like crap right now, or
Yeah.
I'm scared right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'm, but being honest about
There's
it
vulnerability.
instead of feeling like you have to pretend like you have to be
have it all
perfect,
together. Yeah.
have it all together.
Yeah.
I'm got very good at that, feeling like, because I'm a course teacher, I need to have it all together. And no,
Yeah.
I don't. I can be a hot mess if I want to. It's okay. I mean, the only being that could ever judge me would be myself. If there's any judgment, it would be my own self-judgment,
Yeah.
because there's no one else really out there that can judge accurately.
That's right.
Unless they know everything
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything
No. Yeah.
about you and your path and who
Yeah.
does. Nobody does.
Nobody does.
Gary, you're about to say something?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, when Cindy said this too shall pass, I was going to say, I wish we didn't talk about passing.
You know,
But, yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
know where she's coming from. We understand each other very well. And and we're in a very good situation. Like you two guys, you're on the same wavelength. You have someone to share your life who really gets you, who really understands you. And Cindy and I like that, and we're very fortunate. And I tell people, hey, if that's your situation, great. If it's not, use it. Because we all have things outside of our relationships in this life that are difficult, especially when it comes to work situations and things like that. People we meet all the time. And the two most difficult seem to be health situations
Mhm.
and work situations. Those are the two big ones.
Yeah.
And we get all kinds of questions about it. And it's always going to come back to a certain kind of forgiveness that you learn. It's not something that comes naturally. It's an acquired thing. It's something that you learn gradually. That's another reason why it's a discipline, because it's almost doing something that doesn't come naturally. So, I think that you have to have that, or else you don't know what to do with these situations except react to them.
Right.
And reacting just reinforces them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that we have presented within our Cancer PEP program on the Sunday, Love is Letting Go of Fear by Jerry Jampolsky, and talking about those principles. And one of the principles I think really resonates with people who've had a cancer diagnosis is this idea that part of you is invulnerable, part of you will transcend.
Mhm.
And I think when people hear that, it's almost as if they recognize the truth without like forcing a spirituality or forcing a religion on people.
Absolutely.
I think they just like recognize like, no, there's something here that is not, that is going to keep on going.
Last week, I was with a friend of mine who's dying of cancer, and we were reading a book together. And at no point did we talk about the cancer. And at one point she said to me, she said, I feel alive when you were with me, Gabrielle, because you still see me for who I am. You don't see me as the sick person, as the sick body. You don't ask me 10,000 times, how are you? How are you really?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that kind of pittiness and
Yeah.
I think there is we have such an opportunity to come to know ourselves through others. And if in one sense we're all teachers, because if we allow to shed some light and allow others from the outside to see some of those internal processes, it's internal reflection, this internal journey where you choose the right mind and you peacefully lay in that pasture and you manifest that around you, people are going to become curious. People, I think it's helping for all of us. It's giving us permission to practice that muscle more of returning the mind home.
Yeah.
You know, railing the mind in. And
well, seeing, like, I mean, because I get this opportunity almost every day, is like seeing people with incurable cancers, and oftentimes they're suffering badly, et cetera, but I can still see their spirit. Like there's a connection at spirit level. And I think that when we're in that space, it's like, I don't, like, it just seems so bizarre that I don't see it as a tragedy. Yeah, sometimes when it's the kids or the young parents.
It isn't.
Yeah.
And,
so it's like, yeah.
Because it isn't. And that's the beauty
It just
of
seems
it.
so weird that I
Because
don't
you know
get
that
reactive with
somewhere
it.
within you, know that that's not real.
Yeah.
You know that we're not a sick body.
Yeah.
So yes, you're doing the right thing, and
I
you
still
know
have to treat
treat
them. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's
But
part
it's
of.
like I'm connecting in that moment. Like, what do we have other than this moment and the opportunity to connect
And
and
that's
love
what
with a
makes
person?
you a good doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, these examples are great because it reminds me of another example of my mother. Several years ago, it was during a Christmas holiday. She was over at our place, and it was Gary, myself, my sister Jackie, her husband Mark, and then my mother, all together. Okay, celebrating Christmas. That particular evening, she had a terrible migraine, just a terrible migraine. Now, of course, we wanted her to be comfortable, so we acknowledged that, you know, she had a migraine.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, what can we do for you? You know,
Yeah.
get you more
Practical stuff.
water, whatever. Okay, we're doing the normal thing, right? But yet, at the same time, Jackie, Gary, me, and Mark, while my mom was sitting there kind of on the couch and just sort of had her eyes closed, and you could tell she was trying to work her process, we just let her be. We
Yeah.
didn't going, how are you? What's are you okay? Oh my God, like there's something seriously wrong.
Beautiful example.
What we did was just kept on enjoying our celebration.
Yeah, beautiful.
And opening our presents, and but yet kind of being alert and aware of my mother, but yet but continuing without bombarding her with all these things like God, oh my gosh, I'm so low. Sorry, you're this way, you know, poor you.
Yeah.
Get this. So we did our celebration. At the end of the night, she kind of perked up and she goes, oh my gosh, I just want to thank you all for not making it so heavy and real for me that I want to thank you for just allowing yourselves to taught me to just feel the joy of the night.
Right.
And not sink yourselves down.
Right.
Sink yourselves down in my pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
excellent.
I thought that was, wow, Mom, that was, you know, a very good point.
Yeah.
And we
Beautiful teaching. Beautiful teaching.
We weren't all trying to do this on purpose. We just like, oh, we know she's gonna be okay. And but we were, you know, so you kind of have a foot in the door and make sure you're aware of what's going on, but yet you're continuing.
Exactly.
Right.
The analogy is, if you're visiting somebody with a severe cancer diagnosis, be yourself in a few ways. One is be vulnerable, but you can also share the good stuff in your life. You don't have to, oh, I can't tell them the good stuff that's happening because that will make them feel bad. It's like, no, you want to like make it real. Like, I almost feel like in our cancer program, we don't even talk about cancer.
Yeah.
We're talking about connecting. We're talking about being in the moment, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was working with Leah on her thesis today, and we're looking
one of our
at
students, yeah.
one of my students, and we're talking about patients' interviews, and a lot of them are saying, so part of the themes that are emerging from those interviews is, I forgot about my cancer. I got all perked up. I was looking for a book to read. I was running, hey, what am I going to do this weekend? Meanwhile, surgery is imminent, and I'm supposed to maybe worry. Should I worry? So for a while, there would be in this cognitive dissonance and tension. Gee, those guys are telling me actually I can leave my life, but no, but my neighbors or my mother or my family is coming and all, they're worried about me. And, so they live in a little bit in this dissonance. And then because of the program is every day, for 6 months, they kind of say, oh, the heck with it. Let me just enjoy life. So surgery is still going to come. I'm still going to have to attend to treatments and take my medication. But enjoy life. Go for a walk. Today is Walking Wednesday. Woohoo! Today we're learning about a new healthy habit. Woohoo!
Yeah.
I'm going to call a friend at a distance on Sunday. Woohoo!
And I would say that for me, that's an example of what I would call ego dissolution, meaning that I'm not the person with a cancer diagnosis. And in fact, I don't even know what I am. I'm just like in this space connecting right now. And so that's another practice in some sense of letting go of your kind of ego perspective. Yeah.
That's right. You're not your diagnosis. You're not.
Yes.
Whatever the diagnosis is. I mean, could be anything. And but to that's where the word separation is
right.
a positive use of separation, separating out the false from the true. That you're not your body, your diagnosis, you're not
even your personality, which is kind of
I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
you're not even we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
You're not even your personality. No, there's no personality in heaven. There's no personality in God. There's no separateness. So how could there be a personality?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's not the identity. The identity is just one
right.
mind.
Right.
One. So that's beautiful. And
Yeah. I said earlier, the questions that we get always have to do with health and with work. But of course, I should have mentioned that relationships is the big thing. But that's
I was going to say that's a top 3.
That's kind of like tied into everything. Even your work situation or in any other situation you find yourself in that's going to need forgiveness. Sooner or later, you realize that somehow it's connected to people, or it's connected to another person.
Yes.
Yeah. So sooner or later, you're going to have to forgive somebody if you're going to be free of it. And the thing is that I've come to realize that if I want to forgive someone, I have to realize that whatever it is I'm forgiving, I made the whole thing up. Like there's a politician who's gaining prominence again in America.
Yes.
And, I thought that I had forgiven him. And here he is coming back big in the scene. I'm not going to mention any names.
No.
You probably won't know who it is, but it's like what I need to remember, and this is true of any forgiveness situation, if you're in a relationship with someone, it doesn't have to be a politician. It could be a work situation. It could be a relative. It could be, a romantic partner, whoever it is, whatever it is that you don't like about that person is something that is in you, in your unconscious mind, that maybe you didn't even know about, that you've chosen to see in that person instead of in yourself, because that's the way that you wanted it. You made these people up because you wanted them to be the guilty party. You wanted them to be responsible for your uncomfortableness and for your lot in life or whatever. And you want them to be there. You made them up. You put that there. If they say something that makes you feel bad, you had them say that. You made it up so that they would say that to you and make you feel bad because on some level you think that you're guilty. The reason that you think that you're guilty has nothing to do with the reasons that you think that you're guilty. They can be traced all the way back cosmologically to the beginning of time, and the idea that we think that we separated ourselves from our creator. And there's all this stuff going on in the unconscious mind that you don't see, but you can see it if you pay attention to the symbols that you're seeing out there on the screen. Whatever makes you feel uncomfortable or judgmental, you made it up and you put it there and you wanted it to be there. and it's what you secretly believe. And I'm not talking about the details or the form. I'm talking about the content of it, because everything you see is a symbol anyway. So it's symbolic of something, and it's symbolic of something that is in your unconscious mind that you secretly believe about yourself, as the Course calls it, the secret sins and the hidden hates that you really have about yourself, that you've chosen to see in others.
Mm.
And this is true of me and that politician. There's something in him that I secretly believe to be true about myself. And I know from all that I've learned that if I want to be free of it, then I need to forgive it in him, not because it's real, but because
Yeah.
it's not real, because I made it up. I put it there. And I can be free of it, but I can only be free of it through forgiveness and completely forgiving whatever it is I thought that person did when I was the one who made it up in the first place.
Mm.
Very good points.
Well, saying what I just said is not a way to gain popularity, but it's like,
Not a
Yeah.
popular thing to.
Agreed.
I remember, Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer actually did the workbook of A Course in Miracles together. And somebody asked Deepak Chopra, said, Deepak, you know the Course, you know the truth, you know all this stuff and how it's not real and how you have to not make it real in order to properly forgive it. And why don't you tell people? And I thought that he gave a very honest answer. He said, if I did that, I wouldn't have any students. And that was unusually frank.
Yeah.
I actually respect him for being
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed.
it was, I mean, it's not a popular teaching, this teaching. I mean, it's gaining some momentum, A Course in Miracles is, but I just mean it's not for the masses right now aren't, on board necessarily. It's saying the complete opposite of what we've been taught
It is.
about the world.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we are. And that the fact there even is a world. I mean, it's, and it doesn't hold back, and it means there's definitive statements in the Course, such as there is no world. This is the central thought the Course attempts to teach. If there's no world, there's no me, Cindy, body. There's no personality if there's no world. It's just truth.
Yeah.
Awareness. And when it says there's no world, that would include the whole multiverse of what we think of the entire universe. Not just planet Earth. There's no entire world.
Yeah.
Like multiverse.
Universe.
Anything that could be separate or take a form of any kind. That's taking it all the way. The Course is taking it all the way to absolute reality, and saying everything else is just our own nightmare and doesn't exist.
Yes, of course, that begs,
Sorry, go ahead.
that begs the question, why would anybody do it?
Right.
And the answer is because it leads to peace. It can actually lead to these very beautiful experiences.
Yeah.
It really does.
Peaceful experiences, all kinds of great experiences. That's why people stick with it. That's why people stick with the Course.
Right.
People read my books and stay with it, stay
Yeah.
friends with us. So there are reasons to do it if
Yeah.
you're interested in
Of course.
peace, as the Course puts it. A tranquil mind is not a little gift.
That's for certain. For certain.
Gosh, I hope I want to say something about that, but I think I just forgot my train of thought. I wanted to say something was important and it went away.
Can I?
Did it have to do with, you both responded when I said everything is your own nightmare and doesn't exist. Then you went like this, like you were going to say something. Is that?
Yeah, I know. I wanted to say something. I wanted to say
Oh,
something
okay.
and I don't, I guess, yes. Okay. I'm going to say the second thing that I wanted to say, which I still remembered. The first one must have been very important because I forgot. But Judy gave a
Wait a second.
wonderful.
Tell the audience who Judy is.
Okay, Judy Whitson-Scotch was the president of the Foundation for Inner Peace. She passed. She's my spirit mother.
She was
She's
the one.
the real mother of Tam Morgan, who's the president of the Foundation for Inner Peace now.
Judy brought the Course to the world. She
Yeah,
was
she
able to
did.
print it and create the
did.
foundation, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
like a grandmother to my daughter, Azena, our daughter. And when Azena turned 14, Judy gave Azena a gift. among many others. She was extremely generous to Alzana. And Rob has it right beside him because this gift ended up temporarily. It's just landing to Rob in his office.
And I'm going to read it.
And it has a lot of relevance to everything we've said.
Yeah, because I'm struggling. So that's why I want to read this, and then I want to ask this question around the how-to. I know I'm stuck in the ego phase, but it's a how-to. So Judy gave Alzana this, and it's a quote from the Course. Simply do this: be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is, all concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks, either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief you have ever learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God.
This used to be apparently Helen's most favorite quote.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and it speaks to what both of you have said. When at the beginning of this conversation, we started with Gary, talking about people being curious. How come he's so, happy and, at peace, and he smiles and he's cool.
He's shining.
And you, Cindy, talking about, stepping away and going inwards and taking a moment of quiet, and where you lay on that pasture of there's not wrongdoing, there's not good doing, there's just peace, the peace of God, which passeth understanding. And I believe, it's back to that whole idea, being on a journey to let go of ideas and thoughts and identities and ways of being that never existed in the first place. Like Kenneth said, nothing will ever come out of nothing. We can't be something. Yeah,
Nothing comes from nothing. As it
nothing,
says, nothing after.
That was Ken Wapnick, probably the best teacher of the Course. But anyways, if there's a best thing, so.
That quote that you just pulled out, and I have that exact quote framed in front of me right here too.
You're kidding me.
In a white frame, inspired by Judy as well, because I saw it in a white frame in her house. I thought, you know what? I love that quote so much. I'm gonna frame that too. And I also have it right here in front of me, right here.
Same one.
Same exact quote. I read it to our students in our classes once in a while so we can all remember together.
Yeah.
That, right? Simply do this. Be still. I mean, that goes right along with that famous spiritual line, be still and know I am God. No, God is found in the quiet, in the solid, in the stillness. God isn't loud. God isn't noisy. God isn't verbal. God isn't. So simply do this, be still. And all the concepts, everything, the whole world, the world itself is an idea. It's a thought. And the billions of people we see out there are a projection of one thought of separation, projected, this vast illusion. Ken Wapnick did write a book called A Vast Illusion, A Time According to A Course in Miracles. I actually recommend that to people. Incredible, detail on how the Course speaks about the illusion of time, and that the past, present, and future, which we play out linearly here. Of course, it's really holographic and it's still an illusion, but it's a really wonderful book and has a lot of great information. If people do want to read that, A Vast Illusion by Ken Wapnick.
Yeah, and I strongly recommend Gary's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, for those that don't know about the Course. Cindy's book, A Course in Well-Being, in Health and Well-Being. Those are wonderful books to start with, especially if you don't. I mean, the first book, Gary's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, is such a lovely segue into, an ordinary guy's life. Gary's an ordinary guy, and a dog and a wife. And then two people appear out of nowhere. And his life, as he knew it, was about to take an incredible turn. All of a sudden, he got a mighty taste, like a big bite of perspective as soon as those guys appeared. And he's been, eating that perspective ever since. So this guy has practiced a lot of forgiveness and a lot of letting go since. So he's
Yeah. Well,
here with us.
I was always grateful to Ken because he was always very good to me. And I didn't find out until many years later some things about him, like how he would actually recommend Disappearance of the Universe to people on the side and say, yeah, you got to read this, and things that he would say about the early days. But and I joke because Ken used to write these fantastic books, and he didn't have as big an audience as he should have had. But fortunately, my books pointed a lot of people in his direction, and a lot of people became students of Ken. And I can't help but think that that's one of the reasons that Art and Versa did things the way that they did. It wasn't to point people in my direction; it was to point people more in Ken's direction. Yeah. And I joke about Ken. I say, well, he was okay, but he didn't have the educational opportunities that I did. But I'm joking, of course. I'll always be grateful to him. I couldn't have used all these quotations from the course at the time without his permission, and he was very generous. They didn't, charge me any money for thousands of words, and it was just very good to me. I'll always be grateful.
Now his stepson, David Salor, took over the foundation for A Course in Miracles, and he's really doing a great job. I think David is working really, really, really hard at making sure that all the books, all the recordings, everything that Ken and Gloria left behind are made available to people that want to study them. I think they're doing a wonderful job. It's a lot. It's
yeah. It seems like almost every week
there's like a new product out.
Product of Ken.
I love it. They're really sticking with it, and they keep putting it out. Yeah, I see it every week, almost in an email with a new product, a new taking some of his material that hasn't been released, and they keep going, and I'm so impressed with them, and I'm so happy they're doing that to preserve his.
I think Ken would be very pleased.
I think so too. Yeah, I think he would be very pleased. Yeah. I can just almost hear him laughing though, and going, but don't take any of this seriously.
Don't take life too seriously.
Or doing this.
So then,
that's what he used to do
in
workshops. Just when you think you're serious and you look like someone, and maybe you know what you're talking about. Nope.
In fact, that was probably one of the lines I heard him say most in his talks. Like he would just stop and he would just go, just please don't take any of this seriously. I mean, he would just remember to just, because laughter is the opposite of seriousness. When you're laughing, you can't be serious at the same time. And the gentle laughter the Course talks about is you're not laughing at people. You're laughing at just the silliness of the ego. There it goes again. You make light about it. That kind of laughter. You're just going, oh, I took that so seriously. Okay, so what? I have another opportunity. I can choose again next time. Or I can. That's just a lightness you can have. A playfulness.
There's the inner peace, right? Like let's not take this world too seriously. It takes us along the ladder of letting go. And
I know it's not, again, none of us, I think, are saying this is always easy to do.
No,
we're not saying that it's easy to do when we're not feeling well, or we're not, but when there's just in the back of your mind, if there's just a foundation of this really isn't who I am, just having that foundation, that can be something, that can make a difference.
Okay, I have a $1 million question for each one of you, okay? And the question is, what teaching from the Course is most prominent to you these days? What are you working with? What aspect, what guidance from the Course are you working with more predominantly on right now, right in this moment?
Well, I'll tie it into the early days at first, because Ken and I exchanged a few letters in the early years, which I still have, which I'm going to sell on eBay, by the way. And it's like, I think that's one of the things that he wrote to me. He said, don't take any of this seriously. And then I remembered, and I went back to that part in the course where it says, there is no world. And then look in the workbook and it says, you have made it real. And so you cannot forgive it. And that's kind of like a prerequisite of forgiveness, to not make it real. If you forgive people because they really did it, you're keeping it real in your mind and it will be there forever. The only way to be free of it is to understand that it's not real because you made it up. And that the one that you're really forgiving, even though it looks like you're forgiving somebody else, you're really forgiving yourself. That's who it's going to. And of course, the good part about that is you're the one who's going to get the benefits from it. So what I do when it comes to what you asked, the most important thing, is I always remind people, I always tell people, look, don't make it real. Put that on a Post-it note and put it on your refrigerator, and don't make it real, because if you make it real, then you can't forgive it and you'll be stuck here forever.
I'm hearing not too tight, not too loose.
I'm hearing it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. And, most people aren't going to believe that. I mean, when I was 15 years old and I was going to see the Beatles, you couldn't tell me that wasn't important. Of course it was to me. And people are always going to think things are important until there's going to come a point where they realize, it's not important. It can be fun, but it's not important because it's not real. And by the way, you should be glad that it's not real. Just like the Course says, if this was the real world, God would be cruel. And God is not cruel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I just have something fun that I keep on my desk. I'm going to show you. Okay, it's a picture of Superman. See?
Uh-huh.
Superman? Okay, I'll read the quote, but
I posed for that.
this is a very oh yeah, Gary posed. Okay, and see how he's it's a symbol, right? But Christopher Reeve, who played Superman, this is his quote, and I love this. What makes Superman a hero is not that he has power, but that he has the wisdom and the maturity to use the power wisely.
Wow.
Christopher Reeve, talk about a heroic figure, if there is one. Christopher Reeve, when he was diagnosed, well, he had not diagnosed necessarily. He had an accident that crippled him, quadriplegic.
Fell off a horse,
tongue twister, quadriplegic, and he was paralyzed up to the neck for many years. He lived that way, but he, to me, was always an inspiration, because he would just seem to just keep this attitude, like almost like, now I'm not saying he didn't maybe have difficult moments, but there was just something about him, his way, that here he was, a man who played Superman, who's supposed to be right, and then he gets crippled, and and then what a demonstration, I feel, what an example of someone who could make it through that, yet be an inspiration to others. Just like Michael J. Fox is another example, who's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease for many years. He's had it. He's having another baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, he just keeps going and going and going. What is that in each of us that gives us that strength, no matter what, to keep going, keep living your life? What is that? Well, there's a power. We can't see it, but that's the power of God within us. That is literally always, never, whatever, apart from that power. And we do need to choose it, though. Like, if we don't choose it, we're powerless. But if we know that we are minds and we have that power to choose, regardless of what's happening, then we can more and more train the mind. It does require mind training and discipline to train the mind to think along the lines of right mind, thinking. And these figures just are inspirational to me, because they're just like, you just watch them just keep going, go, go, go. You don't, they're trying to work for good, and raising money to help others. And that's just being normal in the world too. They're being normal in the world, doing, what's helpful. But
Yeah.
there's something within each of us, it's the power
Mhm.
of God that no
Oh,
matter
yeah.
what, you're never separate from it, even if it feels like it sometimes. And yeah, I've been questioning a lot. There's a line in the course that says, an untrained mind can accomplish nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
I also like to say an unquestioned mind can accomplish nothing.
Ooh, I love that.
Wow.
I love that.
When you don't stop and question the ego,
Yeah.
you have to
Mhm.
analyze it, but you're
Mhm.
stopping
Yeah.
going, what is this belief that I keep playing, and why am I choosing to play it
Mhm.
out
Mhm.
over this story, this narrative,
Yeah.
instead of, another narrative, another story, then there is one available. So
Wow.
I've been working with that lately, questioning.
Wow.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer your own question?
I do, but I need a card. I need a card too. I leave it on the island here at home. It's pretty beaten up. I think it has tomato juice on it. Must have some wine. It looks pretty beaten up. It was released by the Foundation for Inner Peace long ago. Again, Judy sent it to either Alzena or my birthday. Must have been about 14, 15 years ago. I lose track. And it says, love always leads to love. Yeah. And where is it? Because I've written, I keep writing.
made some notes.
I made a note here. Yeah. What I'm working with is from the manual for teachers, is after all the characteristics of the teachers of God. There is that section about relinquishing judgment. And in the second paragraph, the third statement is, what's seen as reality is what the mind prefers. So I've been thinking a lot about that lately, because I'm waking up every morning, irrespective of how hard I work, and I've been working pretty damn hard lately. And Cindy, you would know that because you're my best friend, and I barely have time. You and I have not been in contact as much as we've never been so much out of contact.
I think that's true. I know.
Sweetheart, I've been working my butt out.
I know you, and I
I've been
know
working
that.
so damn hard.
I
And
know you
yet,
have. Yes,
baby,
you are.
and yet I wake up every morning, and you know that, and I have a spring in my foot. I work up with joy, irrespective of how busy I am and how much I'm overwhelmed by everything that is happening. We have so many projects going on. We're so busy. But I wake up and there's a spring in my foot, and I am happy. I'm
Oh,
genuinely happy.
Mm.
And every time I'm happy, I keep thinking about this. This is, again, things Judy has left behind. So the people in my life, you're my family. You're my family. For those of you that don't know, these two are my family. Judy's my family. And I don't care that she passed across on the other side. For me, she's still there. But those are symbols that constantly I feel like I'm connected to that reality, to the reality, the only reality that is, through those symbols.
Mm.
And so I've been thinking a lot about that. And this, every time I have this sprint in my foot, this comes to mind. And then a reminder, the moment I depart from that place of peace is because my egoic mind will make reality of whatever it chooses. So I can either let go and really identify myself with that. And then I'm noticing right away, I depart from love. I depart from peace. I go into rah, 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 let's do. And I've been practicing a lot, even when I'm in the rah, 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 to remember this, to remember that love always leads to love, to remember that I have a choice, that I can choose not to be on that sailing boat of my thoughts and my mind going nuts and seeing things that wants to see and choosing realities that wants to choose. So that's what I've been working with. Your turn, Mister.
wonderful.
I thought you were going to say, I have all this spring in my step, and then Rob starts talking. You got to deal with me. The cosmic problem. Do you know what? What I would say is I feel more and more like I'm not in control, and it's actually a wonderful feeling. We have a lot of projects and a lot of successful projects kind of starting to manifest, and I'm like, hands off. Holy Spirit's got the plan here, and I just feel like I'm like kind of detaching, and like that example of like feeling super embarrassed. It's like, I don't care. Like, I'm just like, I'm not going into getting drawn away into ego mind and being threatened and so on. And I don't even feel like I'm in control of any of that. It's like, I'm just like getting pulled along. And it's actually a really wonderful feeling not to try to control. Like the control freak in me is like, no, it's like, let go. So that's where I'm at.
Like letting go of any resistance or.
Yeah, it's like if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's like, and it doesn't make sense for me to ruminate. Oh, that person should have done that. As soon as I see myself doing that, or you can ruminate like, I'm such an idiot or however. It's just like, that's not helpful. And so I've been practicing that muscle of watching my thoughts and like that thought may be true, but it's not helpful. And so I'm just going to let that one go.
Yeah. And we keep laughing at each other every time one of us is really intense and sort of, oh, this is happening. And the other one says, hey, baby, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I just try to listen. The less I talk, the better. That's my superpower.
Yeah.
Listen.
That's great. Yeah, I love this sharing. Yeah, just now, like everybody shared kind of what they're thinking about these days, or like I think that was really interesting to hear what everyone was.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed talking to you. I think we should have some more of those conversations. We let a few months pass, and honest to goodness.
Sure. Yeah. We enjoy it too. Yeah.
It's very inspiring. It's just like,
inspiring.
Yeah, it is.
Gives me that kind of nourishment that keeps me going. So thank you.
Yeah, we feel the same.
You know, Gabrielle, you reminded me when you said love leads to love. The kind of forgiveness that we teach people leads, I think, to love automatically.
Yeah.
Because you get rid of the stuff that you need to forgive. That's what's been interfering with the experience and the expression of love. So I really think it leads to that automatically.
We always have to get that F word in, the F word.
And for those and for people watching this, know that Cindy and Gary are still giving plenty of talks and retreats. You can check out their websites at Lora-Renard.com and GaryRenard.com.
Nice. And I'll put in a shameless plug for cancerpep.com for people who've been affected by a cancer diagnosis.
Exactly. And you want us to journey with you for 6 months.
Yeah.
Imagine two nuts like us journey with you for 6 months. Poor things.
Yeah. Thanks.
I
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Blessings to you. Yeah.
Yeah. You too as well. We love you both.
Love you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And this concludes our interview with Cindy and Gary Renard. To learn more about their work, please visit their website at cindylora.com and garyrenard.com. To learn more about the work that Rob and I have been doing with cancer patients, please visit cancerpep.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, be well and take care of yourselves.